The way we look at it is disease is a wake-up call. I think the more inspiring stories of healing that people see, then they go, okay, if they can do it, I can do it.
It's time to change the world.
There's got to be a better way.
It's time for something better.
You feel like you can't really make a difference, but the fact is that you can.
We're telling the stories of people who are changing the world and how you can help.
We just need more companies that are out there solving these problems.
Businesses, nonprofits, artists, and individuals who have found a problem and then created a solution.
If we want to have real impact, we have to do it together.
You'll come away from every episode with action steps you can take to be part of that solution.
We're never going to feel satisfied and happy if we just stay the same.
We can each change the world every single day.
People can actually come together and build a future for themselves along with other people.
Our daily actions have a massive impact. So what will we do about it? We can remake the world. Because guess what? We can. Hi everyone, I'm Nathan Gardner, and this is We Can Remake the World, a podcast about people who are changing the world and how you can help. Oh man, what a show we have for you today. This one is so important, I think, now more than ever. Have you ever heard someone say, you never know the value of your health until you've lost it? Well, I can tell you from experience that this is a very true statement. One of the reasons I was convinced I had to interview our guest today for our show is because of my own journey with health struggles and how long that road has been. So I'm super passionate about this one today. I know from experience how important these conversations are, and I'm so glad you're here. If you've never struggled with some kind of unexplained or mystery symptom or illness, from migraine headaches to acne and eczema to digestive issues to even more serious and progressive diseases, consider yourself very lucky. You're in the minority these days. It seems like more and more of us are struggling with our health in some way, some kind of chronic condition that isn't easily solved by traditional medicine, and answers are so hard to come by, it seems like. For me, everything started during my first year in college with some digestive problems that were so bad that I couldn't even eat a single baby carrot without feeling awful, without being in pain and getting anxious about what this meant, what my body was going through. I saw several doctors who couldn't help me. We did all kinds of tests and nothing got to the bottom of it. A couple years later into college, more issues came up, including severe anxiety, multiple injuries, adrenal fatigue, things like brain fog, and nervous system issues. It was really freaky, and it was really tough, and it took me years to build my body back from everything that started when I was in college. It really took a long time, and I saw a lot of different specialists, alternative practitioners, traditional doctors, everything in between. I'm so glad to say that now I've found my way to a much better place, but it took time and patience, and it was not easy. But what's exciting about today's conversation is that we're seeing that answers and solutions are popping up all over the place to a wide variety of issues, and people are discovering ways to recover and heal from everything from multiple sclerosis to multiple forms of cancer to those chronic conditions like migraines and skin conditions like eczema and acne. We are finding these solutions, and we just need to explore the options that are becoming available to us more. Especially now, I think, when our health is central to what we value and what we're concerned about, and we're each trying to take steps every day to protect our health. This is such an important conversation to have, because it's all about empowerment and rethinking our relationship to health, illness, traditional treatments, and the way that we find answers for those of us who struggle. It's time to build a world full of strong, healthy, resilient people, and I think our guest today will help us all get a little more onto that path. There's a new paradigm taking shape, a new approach to illness and disease that is changing everything. There are scientists, doctors, therapists, researchers, and practitioners of all kinds asking the same question: what if we can heal ourselves? Is it possible that we've been missing something? as we've spent the last century looking to doctors and to more traditional methods for answers that our minds and bodies might already have with some help from nature. More and more, we're asking, what if traditional cultures were right when it comes to healing and improving our health? That our intuition, combined with nature, has everything we need if we just open our minds and our hearts to change, to a new way of approaching life and thinking about our health. What if our minds are far more influential on the state of our health on every level, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, than we've ever thought? These are the questions at the heart of Heal, a Netflix documentary which was released in 2017. Throughout the film, Heal presents the viewpoints and research of a wide variety of doctors, scientists, healers, and teachers who all rally behind this idea that we already have all the tools we need to restore our health if we can just open our minds to them. These tools include a stronger connection to our minds, to our bodies, to our emotional selves, and our spiritual selves. And these tools also often include support from the natural world, with whole foods, herbs, and natural remedies. Today, we'll speak with the director, producer, co-writer, and star of the film Heal, Kelly Noonan Gores. Kelly is convinced we're missing something on the mainstream level when it comes to the way we treat our illnesses and our bodies, and she is committed to telling the stories in Heal so that we find new answers that work. Every year, the CDC, or Centers for Disease Control in the United States, predicts an increase in the frequency of diseases like cancer, claiming that as the population ages, cancer rates and diabetes and heart disease will inevitably climb. Chronic and mystery illnesses are also on the rise, including skin conditions, digestive disorders, viruses of many kinds which cause a variety of symptoms, autoimmune conditions, and more. But practitioners, including doctors, are seeing patients recover from late-stage cancer, overcoming anxiety and depression without medication. Diabetes is disappearing, and heart disease is making a full 180-degree turn. These are the kinds of stories told in Heal, and the documentary digs into what these patients are doing to drastically turn things around. Heal invites us into a new vision for our health and a new belief in our body's ability to bounce back from diseases of all kinds. Doesn't it seem like we think of disease these days as inevitable? Like Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes are just part of life? But what if they're not? What if we're way off base there? If our current system was working well at all levels, we wouldn't see so much illness, right? So what are we missing? Kelly of Heal firmly believes that there's way more to the story than we've been told when it comes to how to build and maintain our health, and that it's time for us to understand that we have far more power to impact and improve our health than we've been believing. So thanks again, Kelly. I really appreciate you being here with me today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I'd like to start with just, the basics. I'd love to hear about what inspired you to create Heal. What was sort of the impetus for it?
Yeah, this is always the question that I wish I had a short answer for, but I think it was just kind of over a lifetime of little experiences that brought me to have this calling. It was such a clear vision I had, and it was just a whole lifetime of experiences that led me to have this pull in my heart. I just had this vision to do this film, and essentially just all the teachers that had empowered me over a span of about 10 years. I wanted to put them in a film to empower others. And I think it's so interesting that it ended up being around healing, because I didn't go through a traumatic experience in myself. I didn't lose anybody to, a devastating illness or anything like that, which would, you would think is the case. But I think I'm so fascinated by human potential. And I have this vision, and I don't share this a lot, but I remember being a child and picturing the inside of our body and thinking it mirrored the universe. So I've always seen this kind of micro, macro vision of just our cells being like stars and just the vastness and intelligence of that. And I think learning and being exposed to different teachers and books and learning how intelligent the human body is and the potential to heal and the potential for our minds to co-create with life, I was just oh my gosh, everybody needs to know this.
Yeah, I think I love that you use the word empowerment, because I think what happens so often when people are faced with chronic illness of any kind or injury, disempowerment is one of the biggest things that they feel. And having gone through my own health challenges, I mean, confusion and feeling like authorities, like doctors aren't hearing you or don't understand what's going on with you. It's so disempowering. And so would you say that that was sort of your primary intention, was to just empower people, to give them tools that maybe they hadn't been exposed to yet?
Totally. I think that, we are conditioned to look for something outside of ourselves to heal or assist us. And I just, I'd watch these pharmaceutical commercials and I'm like, we are like absolutely hypnotized. They're telling us that the side effect of the drug is actually worse, potentially worse than what we're trying to take the drug for to fix. But they're playing like soft, pretty music over it and showing people dancing around in the field of lilies. And we're not supposed to listen to the words, and I'm just like, something that did not feel aligned, So I think that, there's just deep conditioning in the way that we teach our doctors and everything, that we don't have power. We have to give our power away to someone smarter than us, someone that, went to school for 10 years. And there's just so much more information available to us now. Thank God, technology and amazing, scientific research and papers. And so we can become our own advocate and learn about, first of all, reconnect with our intuition and our instincts. We have our own internal guidance system that will lead us down the right path and will alert us if the doctor is not aligned with our truth or if something they're saying doesn't resonate. So really just wanted to restore that faith in our own body and the intelligence there and the communication and feedback that it's constantly trying to have with us.
Would you speak about that a little bit more, as far as, how can somebody who's new to this idea that they have an internal guidance system, when they're faced with a doctor or with somebody that they should be trusting, what would it feel like to hear something that a doctor says and to sort of be able to tune in and decide whether or not it actually is true for them or if it's in their best interest?
Yeah, I think that communication, the conversation that your body has with you is slightly different for everybody. It's unique for everybody. A lot of people get chills when something does resonate, or the hair can stick on the back of your neck if it doesn't resonate, or if it, danger. So, that's one feeling that could be just an immediate contraction, like a tightening, and a contraction, which is your body's innate intelligence pulling away from something that is not good for you. So exercising awareness, once you start to tune in, once you start to have daily practices where you quiet the mind and kind of reconnect with the sensations in your body, those conversations will get louder and you'll learn your feedback. But yeah, I love one of the women in the film is a doctor. Well, she's a researcher called Kelly Turner. And she studied radical remission, and she studied 1,500 cases of people with late-stage cancer, basically end-stage cancer, where they were sent home to get their affairs in order and live out the rest of their life because Western medicine had nothing more they could do for them. And she studied 1,500 cases of people that were sent home essentially to die, and they healed. And her research was specifically to cancer, but my intuition tells me that it applies to, most, if not all, chronic illnesses as well.
I think it's worth diving into Kelly Turner's work just a bit more here, really briefly, because it really turns the traditional mindset around cancer on its head. Kelly Turner is a former psychotherapist who worked specifically with cancer patients, and when she decided to return to graduate school for her doctorate degree, Kelly used that opportunity to travel the world to research patients who had survived late-stage and terminal cancer, to ask them what they did to turn things around. And she used this research to write her dissertation and then her New York Times bestselling book called Radical Remission. Kelly Turner interviewed 1,500 people who had overcome late-stage cancers, and she compiled a list of behaviors that all of these former cancer patients incorporated into their lives to overcome their illness. Those 9 key factors are: 1, radically changing your diet; 2, taking control of your health; 3, following your intuition; 4, using herbs and supplements; 5, releasing suppressed emotions; 6, increasing positive emotions; 7, embracing social support. 8, deepening your spiritual connection. And 9, having a strong reason for living. I think what's striking about these 9 key factors, if you look at them, is the fact that you'll never hear a Western medical doctor mention any of them. Diet, intuition, spirituality and emotional health, strong relationships, positive reinforcement, these things just aren't in most, if any, medical textbooks. Actually, only 2 of these have anything to do with the physical body at all. Changing your diet and using herbs and supplements. The rest on this list are mental and emotional. But if 1,500 cancer conquerors all shared these behaviors, there's got to be something here, right? Could it be that we're missing the 9 largest pieces of the puzzle when it comes to recovering from cancer? And potentially the 9 largest pieces of the puzzle when it comes to overcoming any illness. As Kelly Turner says in the documentary herself during her interview in the film, does it mean that we're all going to heal tomorrow by looking at these more closely? No, but these key factors deserve to be studied, and there's something incredible there for us to learn.
She spoke to so many people that their oncologist told them, well, it's going to be this, whether it's a negative statistic or a chemo drug, where they have this voice, or they had this like visceral reaction to something the doctor told them. They were like, no, this is not my path. No, this is not my treatment. And they walked out and they found a new doctor. So that intuition is really our internal guidance system that once you learn the language, it will never lead you astray.
I think one of the other things that Kelly Turner mentioned is a relationship with food. And I think it's fascinating that doctors are given little to no education when it comes to anything to do with nutrition. And it's just, I can't think of a sort of better illustration of the fact that we have to be our own advocates. We have to be able to take some of our power back when it comes to deciding what's right for us, because doctors are sort of educated in this box, and something as simple as nutrition is not even considered as being powerful for our health.
You're exactly right. I mean, the biggest tell that our medical Western medicine is failing us in the way that it's set up now is they are not, they don't have the time, doctors don't have the time, nor the education or background to take into account what we're putting in our bodies. It's wild. They're really trained in a way and educated in a way where their only option is to really give a pill, which ultimately in 99% of the time is just silencing a symptom. And there are medications out there that do amazing things, but for the most part, when medications are blessings, is just to kind of get us over the hump. When you find yourself in an acute situation and you need something to manage your pain for a period of time where you can gather your strength to let then support the body in healing itself, or an acute heart condition or something where you have to, for a window of time, help the body come back to balance and then support it with everything it needs for your own healing mechanism to kick in and do the work.
What's amazing to me is, again, I went through kind of my own health struggles starting in college. And when you start to think outside of the box a little bit and read about some of the alternative viewpoints, there's so much data around nutrition and meditation demonstrating how powerful they are to mitigate and lessen disease. Yet it still kind of hasn't reached the mainstream. I mean, why do you think that is? Why do you think traditional medicine is so reticent to open to these tools, which have been shown to be so effective, but kind of shake things up at the foundation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of just they're so, this is not to pass judgment on doctors, but our medical schools now are being funded by pharmaceutical companies, if you dig into the details and the paper trail. So they're just taught a different way of looking at things. Their perception is different. And then on top of that, we've now created a health insurance system where they just don't have the time in order to make enough money to keep their practices going. Doctors don't make as much as they used to because this new model, they're just forced to do so much paperwork. We live in such a sue-happy society, this litigious society, that they're limited in what they feel they can do. So not only do they have the time, they don't have the time to sit down and find out about the stress, emotional stress that's going on in their patients' lives, which something like meditation would help, or the diet that they're taking in. They don't have the time to take a holistic approach because of the demands of health insurance and all the bureaucracy and the paperwork that they find themselves doing half their day. So it's a double-edged sword. It's just, it's the way they're educated and then the system that they're finding themselves in today. They're just burnt out, and they all genuinely want to help their patient, and they, the quickest way to do that often is to just write a prescription.
I can imagine it must be so difficult and frustrating sometimes to be a doctor of any kind these days, especially when it seems like the rates of these chronic conditions and illness are going nowhere but up. Mm-hmm. And to feel like you don't have the tools to really get to the heart of the problem. One thing I think that's illustrated really well in Heal is just that there are many aspects to health. And it's not a matter of just eating better or just experimenting with meditation, but sometimes it requires, some emotional work and changing of your beliefs and relationship to yourself and to others. Would you speak just a bit about your experience learning about kind of a new way to think about health, where it's no longer searching for the magic bullet, but just opening yourself to exploring and challenging your beliefs and your ideas and kind of building a new life from the ground up in some ways?
Yeah, the inside out. I think that, one of the biggest ahas when I made the film was to realize the power of our subconscious beliefs. And it's, it's like computer programming. When we're a child between the ages of 0 and 7, we're literally, our brains are developing and we're literally just sponges taking on the behaviors, the belief systems, the energy of our caretakers, the people around us. So, and then those subconscious beliefs, that programming becomes like the lens of perception through which we look at life. And the problem is like 75%, Bruce Lipton in the film says 75% of those programs, those belief systems are limiting and negative and disempowering. So if we are looking through this lens of perception and translating all the circumstances that are happening in life, in 75% of the time we're looking through a negative, disempowered lens, we're going to have a lot of stress in our life. We're going to have a lot of fear in our life. We're going to have a lot of anxiety. And the cascade goes from there. And all the experts agree that stress has a detrimental effect on the human body. We have the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, which is when you're in stress response, when you're in fight or flight. And then there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which your body is, there's no threats in my environment. My body can rest and repair and clean up anything it needs to clean up. So the stress response is a brilliant survival mechanism, but it's only meant to be turned on, for 20 minutes to an hour a day to run from the tiger or the, opposing tribe or whatever. And now just with the inundation of technology and just social pressures and just everything that comes with modern life, people are running a chronic stress response, which means their immune system is shut down, their, higher brain centers are not functioning, their digestion is shut down, like everything, muscles and stress hormones are mobilizing all the resources from all the other systems in the body to give you energy to fight or flee for your life, So we're finding ourselves in an imbalance, and the more awareness we can have around our belief systems and what where our perception is coming from, that, circumstances are stressful, I find that, at the very root of everything is our kind of programming and our beliefs. So I'm still, I've been working on myself and analyzing my beliefs, or not analyzing, but like becoming aware of my beliefs and trying to shift them and trying to kind of dissolve these constructs and constraints that I have in my mind. And it's just a work in progress,
Always.
You go,
yeah.
and then you realize, like, you get rid of one kind of disempowering belief and cruising along in life, and then oops, you're triggered by something new, and you're like, oh, that's so interesting. Rather than resist it, go, wow, you almost gather an excitement for triggers, because it's, again, feedback going, where am I not free? Where am I still having a limited belief about life?
I feel like there's always more to discover about yourself in that sense. Like, the ups and downs start to balance out a little bit, but you have to, I think, be willing to accept that pendulum swing. I just want to speak a little bit more about the stress aspect. There's a woman in the documentary named Eva, I think, and she goes to an alternative practitioner who works with sound and sort of playing very relaxing, intentionally chosen music. And her system is so used to stress that she can't at first kind of get past the stress response. And I think so many people can probably relate to that in today's world. What are some of the tools that you've discovered to be helpful for you when kind of managing stress, or in your work with the documentary and generally, what have you found to be most effective that you would recommend to people?
I have 4 pretty, daily practices that I try to implement every day. Meditation is one. I think meditation for me was a game changer in my life. Once you start meditating and you feel like the physical benefits and then the emotional benefits and the mental and spiritual, it offers you so much just relief of resistance and tension and fear, and it really reconnects you with your body and your soul, your higher self, your intuition. So meditation, I've been meditating for maybe 13 years, and it's, to me, a game changer. So I would recommend anyone looking for a daily tool to look into that. Prayer can, be the same for meditation, versions of prayer. And also gratitude work. They talk about in the film a lot how increasing your positive emotions really drops your body into healing, and it releases tons of healing and positive chemistry into your body when you're doing things that make you happy, or you're in love, or you're grateful. So those are, if you can spend. I'm a big writer, so I spend 5 to 10 minutes every day writing down what I'm grateful for, and it just starts to generate positive healing chemistry in your body, and it shifts your energy, it shifts the frequency that you're sending out into the world, your magnetic field. So gratitude's really powerful. And then movement. I grew up an athlete, so, a lot of people go to the gym or have a workout for the physical benefits, but I think for me, the mental benefits of movement and working out and exercise is more, if not more beneficial than the physical benefits you get. So not only are you releasing physical toxins through sweat and your lymphatic system and circulation, getting your heart pumping with oxygen, but mentally you're just releasing so much tension, some built up frustration, grief, whatever. It just gets everything moving so that energy cannot, stay stagnant in your body. So, and then the last little thing for people to explore as a tool, daily tool, is, reconnecting with nature, like getting out in nature, whether it's earthing, grounding, putting your bare feet into the earth, which has a negative ionic charge. That's anti-inflammatory, it lowers your blood pressure, it speeds up wound healing, science has proven. So just fresh air, sunlight, and connecting with sand or grass and going on a hike, whatever, all of that is very healing, not only for the physical body, but for the soul as well.
I think it's kind of amazing just how many new tools we're discovering and how quickly they're validated by sort of traditional science and research. But if there's a silver lining to all of the health challenges so many people are facing, it's this wealth of knowledge and exploration of our bodies and our minds. And I think it's forcing us to sort of to search and to find answers and to listen more readily to some of the folks who are featured in Heal, who have a new perspective and something like earthing. I was exposed to that not too long ago, but it's like such a simple and beautiful tool to just connect to the earth, and naturally all you have to do is just be there and something happens. And if you really tune in, I think you can feel it too. Yeah, would you speak a little bit more about earthing? What is it?
Yeah, I think that our ancestors were really connected to the earth and the cycles of nature, and I think with technology and industry, we've disconnected from that, and our bodies are meant to be connected, for our optimum vitality with this circadian rhythms and these natural cycles of nature. And we've lost that because we're sitting in concrete jungles and EMF radiation and recycled air. And so just getting back out into nature, sunlight is so healing, and we've been taught that sunlight causes cancer. And obviously you have to manage exposure and all of that stuff. But, I get at least 20 minutes of sun every day with no sunscreen, and it boosts your vitamin D levels. And vitamin D, very helpful in preventing cancer, boosting the immune system. So it's like nature has all these gifts and elixirs and just free gifts that you can go out and find in nature, and earthing is one of them. We used to sleep on the ground, and now we have rubber-soled shoes, so we've totally disconnected from that. I've seen in my own life. I was pregnant, and when I was pregnant, every day I went out and put my feet in the grass for 20 minutes, maybe longer, and you could just feel like a sense of calm. And I knew that energy from the earth and that calming of my nervous system would translate into the womb, and that energy would be soaked up by my little baby. And everybody says, wow, she's the happiest, calmest child, and I give credit to Mother Earth for giving me that, grounding. So it's just really cool. Nature, like, you can find all your answers in nature. The microbiome, kids digging in the earth and getting all that bacteria, and we're meant to dig in the earth so that we can pick up little things in our environment so that our immune systems can become stronger, so that our inner bacteria, our inner, microbiome becomes stronger.
What I think is so great too about something like meditation or earthing is it's available to any of us anytime. It's free, and it just takes us choosing to do it. Yeah. And nature is there for us all the time. 20 minutes of your bare feet on the grass. Like, who can't do that? Who can't find a patch of grass to just sit and be present, tune into that sense of calm? I'd like to ask, what was the most surprising thing that came across your path as you were making Heal? Was there anything that you hadn't been exposed to yet, or anything that just like clicked in a new way that just like got you really excited?
I love the whole quantum physics aspect of it, and Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it. A lot of people talk about it, but it's about the quantum model of causing an effect rather than cause and effect. So really the science behind how you can get your heart and your brain in a state of coherence through meditation, and then what that does to your electromagnetic field, what that does to your brain waves, and they've studied this. They've measured people's brain waves when they're in heart and brain coherence, and just the creative power that you get, the healing power that you get, and you can. So I love just that idea where you can really shift your own energy, and then once you're in a coherent state, send an intention to someone, whether they're right in front of you in like a group healing or halfway around the world, and they can measure actual shifts happening. So I just love like quantum physics and energy medicine and everything. The other thing is, I'm so fascinated with subconscious beliefs and epigenetics, and epigenetics is the science that shows us that we are not victims of our genes. We're not, predestined to this genetic expression, but actually our DNA is just a blueprint that's obviously passed down between the two parents, passed down to the children. But that blueprint is there, and then our lifestyle choices, our perception of life, our, like I said, diet, stress, subconscious beliefs, all of those actually determine which genes express and which genes don't. So if you are eating a lot of toxic food and you're under a lot of stress, cancer genes are going to be turned on. Or if you're holding on to past trauma and you haven't healed, different genes are going to be turned on. Rather, if you're eating a clean diet, exercising, and doing gratitude work every day, different healthy genes are going to be turned on and activated, and those disease genes are going to be kept off. So that just like shows me, we do have so much more potential. We are co-creators with life. We're not victims, They say maybe only 2 to 5%, and that's being generous. Bruce Lipton thinks it's more like 1% of genetic conditions are actually fully penetrant, which is, there's not much we can do about that expression. It's a mutation, it's a genetic expression that our lifestyle choices aren't going to change. But in 98% of the time, there is something you can do to change the health of your body.
Which goes back to empowerment.
Yeah.
To be told that you have no say in whether or not your body will become sick. You're just, there's nothing you can do. It's just built into you. So disempowering. Mm-hmm. And so that experience must be so heartbreaking for people who are told that. But if you choose to see the other side of that coin, if you choose to challenge that sort of widely accepted belief in the traditional communities, it just goes back to empowerment, I think.
Yeah. And belief is everything. If you believe that your body is capable of healing, your likelihood of healing is going to be so much more. But if you believe that cancer always kills, which a lot, we've we've developed this belief as a society that cancer is a death sentence. And so many people have healed and, transformed and changed their lives and turned their lives around after a cancer diagnosis and are healthy today. So we need to change our belief around certain diagnoses and understand more that, again, the way we look at it is disease is a wake-up call. It's just a wake-up going, there's choices in life that we can choose better. There's maybe a relationship that we need to get out of. Maybe there's past trauma we need to look at. Maybe there's different food choices we need to make. Maybe we need to move our body. And, a lot of people that do heal look back and go, I wouldn't change a thing. That terrifying diagnosis was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was hard. It was super hard. It was challenging, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, the body is communicating when there's illness. It's like, hey there, something's got to change. Yeah. And if we can be open to exploring what change needs to happen, as scary as it can be and as vulnerable as it can make us, then we can learn so much about ourselves and grow in ways that we never would have otherwise. I'd like to go back to what you said about belief and just to maybe explore this idea of, in the film, it's called Nocebo, which is sort of the opposite of placebo. I'd love to just hear you maybe speak a little bit about the power of belief and how it's demonstrated in medical science and in these trials that pharmaceutical companies are carrying out all the time.
Yeah, the placebo effect is part of the drug testing process, right? So they try to determine what the efficacy of the drug is, and a group is going to take the drug and they're going to record, the effects on the body. And then a group is going to take a sugar pill, which is an inert substance that should have zero effect on the body. Now, the scientists that are doing the research don't know, it's a double-blind study, they don't know who's taking what. They're just recording the effects. And what they find sometimes, especially like in antidepressants, sometimes up to 75% of the people taking the sugar pill, because they believed that pill was going to make them feel better, had those effects in the body. So that's the placebo effect. When you believe something's going to have a positive effect and you expect an outcome, then you signal your brain to release the exact same chemistry to match what the drug would be doing in your body. It's mind-blowing and wild, but that's how our brain is our best pharmacy, the biggest pharmacy on the planet. And our belief kind of toggles which chemistry is released. It's wild.
And it blew my mind that it seemed like sometimes the placebo results, the sort of positive results from placebos, match or potentially maybe even exceed sometimes the positive effects of the actual medical drug.
Right. So we were taking these drugs with all these harmful side effects, and the theory would be that you could take less of a harmful drug with side effects and phase it into a sugar pill, but your body starts creating its own chemistry to match that original drug because you're believing and expecting. And hopefully that's the next phase, but unfortunately that might, cut into some profits of some companies. So which
tends to be a pretty common barrier to
right.
to new ideas sometimes.
But on the flip side, you asked about the nocebo effect, and that
that was a new one for me.
Yeah. And so just as the positive expectation, we think this drug is going to make us feel better. A nocebo effect is when you buy into a negative belief. So, for instance, this happened to my grandfather, and it infuriated me. When a doctor tells someone they have 6 weeks to live, your brain, the fear of that prognosis, and then the belief, if you buy into that, your body is going to basically follow that path. And in 6 weeks, a lot of people are going to be dead, which is terrible. So that's how powerful belief is. If you buy into a negative belief, it could potentially kill you. And that's the craziest thing. If you're giving authority to a doctor that knows more than you and they tell you this is what's possible for you, so many people are buying into that, and then they just keep that average going. In the film, we're like, why can't you be that 1% to 2% that survived? I mean, let's learn from those people, which is what Kelly Turner did with the spontaneous healers. They didn't accept that they were going to be in that, you're going to die in 2 years category or 6 months or whatever. They said, no, I'm going to change this, and they did. So we just have to be very vigilant of what we're buying into and when we're giving our power away to victimhood. So, kind of one of the big messages of the film is get the best medical advice you can, find out what's going on in your body, So, and that's the diagnosis, but never accept anyone's prognosis for you. Don't let a doctor tell you what's possible in your life or how long you're going to live or what is possible for you.
There's another woman in the film, I think her name's Elizabeth, if I remember correctly, and she I think was such a beautiful example of that. She received a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, which seemed like somewhat of a surprise. They didn't realize that it was so far advanced when they caught it, and she, for all, typical beliefs, should have expected to be very sick and maybe not have much time left. And she ended up completely turning it around, and in a fraction of the normal time came back with no cancer at all. And the doctor was shocked and in disbelief. Would you share maybe a little bit, just, you'll have more than I've retained, but I'd love to just hear you speak about Elizabeth and her experience, her story.
Yeah, I loved Elizabeth's story because, on the surface, she looked like the pillar of health. She would look, she studied acupuncture, she did yoga every day, she rode her bike, she ran, she drank greens juices. She was like your poster child of Santa Monica, California. And, she thought she was presumably doing everything right. But then she lost her mother to cancer. She went through a gnarly divorce. So she had a lot of trauma happening and stress, emotional stress in her life. And she felt some pain, and she went, and the doctors told her it's just in her head. They couldn't find anything. She kept going back. So finally someone found that she had stage 4 anal cancer, which again was a shock because she seemed like the pillar of health. And she didn't want to do the chemo because, she was into all this holistic healing and stuff. But her brother was like, yo, dude, it's stage 4. You need to bring in the big guns. You've been juicing all your life. Another greens juice is not going to save you this time. So she reluctantly gave in and did the chemo and radiation, but simultaneously she, kind of went to all these holistic practitioners, and one of them was a spiritual psychologist, and they really dug into the emotional work. And she realized she had all this kind of suppressed trauma and this belief about herself from this traumatic event, and as a child, and it was just really coloring everything in her life, to the point where it was like, there was even some symbolism in where the cancer was in her body, like her root chakra. So, she did tons of wheatgrass. She supported her body's natural healing ability while simultaneously going through the Western course of medicine treatment, chemo and radiation. And she experienced like 2/3 less side effects. Like she still had most of her hair, even though she was taking 2 different kinds of chemo and radiation. Like there was just no chance her hair would stay in. And she, had most of her hair. So she was a testament to say, look, if we can, even if you choose to go the Western medicine route because it's late stage and a more of an acute situation, there are things you can do to support your body's natural healing ability. And that to me is everything. We have to approach our healing holistically. We can't just, the Western medicine approach often just addresses the physical. And we, if you want true healing, we need to bring in the mental, emotional, and spiritual as well.
Yeah. And one of the things I remember that I thought was so fantastic was that I think her spiritual psychologist encouraged her to see the medicine, the traditional Western medicine, as helping your body. Don't see this as poison. Don't see this as harmful. View this as something that's going in to help you, to kill the cancer cells. Like that's what it's doing. And that, I think, speaks to the power of belief again. And it seemed like she was able to do that, to really allow that to be her belief.
Totally. Exactly. And that's the placebo effect. It's believing, it's assigning new meaning to it. So if we believe that we're putting poison in our body, then our brain is going to go, oh, poison, danger, danger. It's stress. And then, our body's going to have those side effects and reaction. But if you can visualize, that's the power of our minds. If you can visualize the chemo as a healing elixir, I believe that's why she had way less side effects, because she was really helping her body reframe and was able to just process and handle it in a more kind of loving, beautiful way.
So I think there are a lot of new ideas in Heal which challenge a lot of sort of foundational beliefs that most of us are given as far as as far as illness, nutrition, and empowerment comes when, it comes to our health. What's the response been like to Heal? How have people taken it? Have you seen minds and hearts open? And I'd love to hear just about what people's experience has been viewing the film.
Yeah, it's amazing because the film came out December of 2017, so it's been out for 2 years, almost 2.5 years. And we've just gotten so many messages from all over the world that just say, Heal woke me up. Like, so many people just have these cathartic releases. Like, they go, I knew I had the ability and I just wasn't, your film confirmed it, or gave me hope. So it's just been so beautiful and overwhelming, and it's far surpassed any expectation I had of how well it could do. And just, I think that the timing was really divine, I had that on my side. People are really looking for alternative ways because our healthcare system is failing us, and people are getting sicker and sicker, like you've said. And we just have so many more toxins in our environment. I don't even get into that in the film, but I mean, if you just were spraying our food and our air and our soil with all sorts of chemicals, and this stuff catches up to us. So I think, my intention was to empower people with information and then give people hope. And, I think the more inspiring stories of healing that people see, then they go, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. And I have a teeny tiny fraction of the amazing people in this world doing amazing things in healing and research and science. And, my hope is, and the feedback has been, it just opened them up, opened their eyes, opened their hearts to a new way of looking at things. And then hopefully they found what resonated and went on their own rabbit hole journey to dig deeper.
Yeah, even if it just prompted, maybe there's another answer, and then that unfolds with whatever time frame or however much they're ready to open at that moment. But just, maybe there's something more to this than I've been told.
Yeah, just snap them out of the hypnosis that we're all under,
Yeah. I think also what's so powerful about Heal is that it's not just information. It's not just these folks who have deep experience in a lot of these different healing methodologies. It's also telling a couple stories of people who are going through health challenges in the film. And again, as someone who's been through my own challenges, seeing somebody be that vulnerable and start to go through that journey, you see their resistance, you see their fear, you see their wins. And I think that is so powerful in and of itself, just to show people the truth of what it's like to have some of these challenges and these experiences and the frustration. And I would imagine that that's been really impactful too.
Yeah. Just the two women in the film that we followed, oh my God, their courage to open up, and just the complexity of people going through mystery illnesses and chronic conditions like this. It's scary, and it also requires a lot of change and a lot of commitment and a lot of exploring and trial and error, which a lot of, it's hard. Sometimes it's expensive. I tried to keep it real, this is what it takes, but it's such a beautiful gift on the other side. So if I'm trying to get people out of victimhood and put the power back in their hands. Nature has all the answers. Your body is your biggest ally. It's in constant conversation with you, and science is backing it all up now, finally catching up to spiritual. Spirit and science are hand in hand now. It's really cool.
It's pretty amazing when you start to dig into all that.
Yeah.
So great. Thanks so much, Kelly, for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me, Nathan.
I could talk about this topic for hours. I really could. I have so many thoughts and experiences to share that it's hard to keep this one brief, but I'll do my best. Maybe a second podcast is brewing, all about health and the incredible opportunities we have to rethink our health. But for today, I just want to say to anyone out there who is struggling with your health, you can and will find answers. Believe it. Start to build it into your daily mindset. It's so important. Nobody is meant to be and stay sick. I truly believe that. And I know what it feels like to be scared and confused and disempowered and to believe that answers aren't out there anymore for you. I also know what it's like to come to the other side of that and to find those answers and to bounce back. It's possible. I promise you, don't give up, don't get defeated, and don't listen to anyone who says otherwise, whether it's family or doctors. No situation is hopeless. I found my answers, and I'm healthier than I've ever been. You'll find yours. Do not give up. And then there's the greater potential that's here, and there's a lot of it. Let's get into our key takeaways for today, our 3 changemakers, the 3 ideas that could change our world for the better. Changemaker number 1. We've barely begun to scratch the surface when it comes to being truly healthy. I think this is the biggest feeling I came away with after watching Heal. There's so much we don't know. There's so much that we think we know, but there are so many more methods and healing techniques and solutions out there to be found that the mainstream just hasn't caught on to yet. There's so much more research that needs to be done when it comes to how we eat and how we live that could transform our health in a minute. I think we've barely cracked the code when it comes to building health into our bodies, into our daily lives. I'm thinking again about Kelly Turner's 9 key factors for overcoming late-stage cancer, only 2 of which are focused on diet or physical factors at all. The rest is all about mind and emotions, which modern medicine doesn't address even a little bit traditionally. What could we learn from exploring these methods more and applying them more, doing more research and studies that are long-term to see how these practices affect people's health? Heal is full of new ideas like these that researchers and doctors and practitioners and philosophers are considering when it comes to the potential we have to impact the health of our bodies through our relationship to our minds and our relationships and our emotions. And people all around the world are changing their lives and their health by incorporating simple practices like gratitude and meditation. Isn't it worth opening our minds to these new ideas? There are so many who are struggling with their health, so clearly our current system could use some improvement. What do we have to lose by exploring these new tools and these new solutions that might hold some really important keys for us? Changemaker number 2. Our current system is unfortunately not always set up for success. I think anyone who's been through a chronic condition that wasn't really straightforward can attest to this. Our current system doesn't always have the answers. It's just fact. You hear a lot of health and wellness authors and experts and even politicians in the United States talk about the fact that the healthcare systems that we have are more like sick care systems, meaning we treat symptoms and kind of surface issues rather than causes. So people rarely truly get and stay better, because the root cause of so many illnesses is still not known or understood. There's such a huge focus on medicines and prescriptions, intervention therapies and surgeries, and very little focus on preventative medicine, prevention of illness, or just day-to-day maintenance of good health. People stay sick but manage their symptoms instead of really getting better. And why is that? I definitely think there's a big piece that has to do with the nutrition conversation that Kelly and I had, and the lack of nutrition education that many doctors have, and the lack of knowledge that most of us have about what's truly a healthy diet. There's so much conflicting information out there. A study from the National Institutes of Health in the US showed that medical students received an average of only 24 hours of nutritional education throughout their entire time in medical school. That equates to 1 week of study of nutrition over an entire medical student's time while studying. 1 week. Another survey found that 88% of the leaders of medical schools around the United States believe that the students at their organizations need more nutrition education. That's huge. And what's interesting is there are reports that clearly show that dietary factors are the single most significant risk factor for disability and premature death. In other words, it's been shown and proven that what we eat is the largest factor in determining whether or not we'll get sick. There are countless studies showing this, and if you just do a quick Google search, you'll definitely find information. Nutritionfacts.org, run by Dr. Michael Greger, is a great starting point if you want to learn about the healthiest possible diet based on medical research. There's another aspect here that I think is worth exploring briefly, and Kelly mentioned it during our conversation. Remember when Kelly said that pharmaceutical companies are actually funding medical schools and funding the medical industry? Well, unfortunately, she's spot on. In 2008, the American Medical Student Association, working together with the famous Pew polling organization, created a scorecard to rank American medical schools based on how much direct funding they got from the pharmaceutical industry. Scores from A to F were given on this scorecard, an A meaning a school received little to no funding from the pharma industry, an F meaning they received so much money from pharma that it was a clear conflict of interest. Only 7 schools in the United States received an A, and Harvard Medical School received an F. In 2008 alone, the Harvard Medical School received over $11.5 million from the pharmaceutical industry. And it's not just medical schools. In 2014 alone, doctors in the state of California received gifts and compensation from pharma totaling over $1.4 billion in just that state. And one final number for you. A poll in 2009 of medical physicians in the entire country, in the United States, found that 94% of the surveyed doctors acknowledged receiving financial compensation in one form or another from pharmaceutical companies. That's almost every doctor, more than 9 out of 10. This included everything from financial gifts and other gifts, to meals, to paid speaking engagements and paid consulting opportunities, to even full-time salaried positions. Pharmaceutical companies have now even set up what are known as MECs, or medical education companies. These are set up to provide continuing education courses that doctors are required to take part in. Doctors normally have to pay for these courses out of pocket, but pharmaceutical companies have set up these MECs so that doctors can attend for free. But of course, the curriculum is determined by the pharmaceutical companies themselves. According to Dr. Marcia Engel, a former editor-in-chief of the prestigious New England Journal of Medicine and a current senior lecturer at Harvard Medical School, these MECs, these courses, are essentially marketing campaigns masquerading as education.
This is not to say that all doctors are corrupt or not doing what they think is best by prescribing medication.
It's just that the toolbox is so limited. And the institutions who are shaping doctors' minds and treatment plans, even the good ones like Harvard Medical School, are often playing an angle that we as patients should be aware of, and doctors should be aware of too. To me, this is a clear indication that it's time to take our power back. It's time to question the advice that we're given, to question the status quo, and to look really hard at the treatment plans that we've all accepted as being normal, and really check in with ourselves to determine whether or not these treatment plans have our best interest at heart. In other words, listen to your gut, as well as the experts that you're consulting with. Which brings me to changemaker number 3. The power is in our hands, nobody else's. I want to go back to my story for a moment. With every single one of my symptoms, the answer was never simple. I had to find my own answers and be my own advocate. I tried pills, I took medicines, I saw dozens of doctors for different symptoms, and I got really low before I really began to take things into my own hands and actually then started to see improvement. I began to read about healing foods and herbs and teas, and I began to meditate. I began to work with alternative practitioners who came from a non-traditional approach to address mental, physical, and emotional imbalances. And over time, kind of piece by piece, I was able to build a stronger foundation and was led to more thinkers and authors and researchers who inspired me and opened my mind to new ideas. And eventually things changed. One by one, the symptoms I had began to disappear from my life, but I wouldn't wish that long, confusing journey on anyone. There's no reason why we should have to work so hard to find answers. It does take courage to determine your own path through an illness when so many professionals who have been trained to give a certain kind of medical advice are telling you a lot of different things. And following our intuition isn't something that we developed and learned as we were growing up, either in school or within our families, but I can tell you from experience that doing so brings rewards that you will rarely find otherwise. I'll also say that taking your power back when it comes to your health, even for someone who's never experienced any kind of health challenge, will change your life for the better. Developing that sense of self-awareness and that sense of listening to yourself before outside influences will benefit you so much, and strengthening the willpower and discipline it takes to change the way you eat or change the way you think or relate to yourself and others will absolutely make you a stronger person. And to be true forces for good in this world, these days, I think we need to be strong. We need to be able to rely on our own truth and come from an authentic place to build ourselves up and others. I really believe it's all about empowerment. empowering ourselves with knowledge, with tools, with habits that build up our health and keep us strong? Isn't it time we ask ourselves why more of us aren't healthy and just thriving? What are we missing? And what are the solutions that are out there that we can take advantage of to create a whole new relationship with our bodies and our health? How amazing would it be to live in a world where illness is the exception to the norm, and most people are healthy with strength in their bodies and minds? And what does transforming our health have to do with changing the world? Well, as anyone who has ever truly struggled with their health can tell you, when you're not well, everything else tends to take a back seat. How can you think about starting a business that will make a positive impact if you're too tired to get out of bed in the morning for no reason that anyone can understand? How can you focus on giving to your community with your time or energy or resources when you're spending so much energy on overcoming illness? For many, illness becomes a full-time job when it enters someone's life, and the fewer of us who have to devote our full selves to living that way and persevering, the more energy and focus we have collectively to make positive changes throughout every facet of our world. And if our social systems are less focused on caring for so many who are ill, we free up resources for other social good. If we no longer have this looming threat of chronic disease hanging over every single family around the globe, imagine what we could accomplish. Imagine how much clearer our minds would be. Imagine how much more freedom we would have financially, and how much less concerned we would be with insurance and more about being constructive with our collective resources. I really want to encourage all of us to stop seeing illness as inevitable. Why should we accept that we'll all get seriously sick? We have so many examples of people who've proven that idea wrong, and I would love to see that become the norm. Here's what you can do today. Go watch Heal. Even if you're not struggling with any kind of mystery symptoms or serious illness or even minor illness, I would bet that almost all of us know someone who is. There might be information in the film that could help someone you know or open their minds if you share it with them. Might give them a solution that they're looking for. I'd also encourage you to try something new when it comes to your own health. If you don't already, think about incorporating Kelly Gores' 4 daily practices for maintaining health into your day-to-day. These include meditation and prayer, gratitude and positive thinking, physical movement of some kind, and time in nature. How many of us actually make a daily habit of applying these practices to our lives? And how much mainstream research are we all aware of when it comes to showing the impact that these practices have on our health? But that research is out there. Each of these 4 things have been proven to increase our health in many ways. Isn't it worth trying and experimenting within our own lives? Let's not wait for mainstream science and research to catch up to what we've seen can be true for us. And that takes us to our challenge for today. I challenge you to choose one of Kelly's 4 key practices for daily health to experiment with over the next 2 weeks. Try to build a new routine around it so you can really notice how it's impacting your day-to-day, because as with any new habit, consistency is key. Or check out the practice of earthing if you've never heard about it. This involves connecting with the earth by putting your bare feet on the ground. There's a lot of scientific research that shows that it decreases stress levels, helps to heal wounds, supports the nervous system. It's a really powerful practice that I've experimented with, and we'll post some earthing resources that you can read about and check out on our website, on the Heal episode page at wecanremaketheworld.com. Especially as we spend so much time at home these days, there's a huge opportunity for some new self-care practices. There's so much you can do just in your living room. You don't need a gym to write about gratitude or to experiment with affirmations. And earthing is just as easy as walking outside when it's a nice day. Let us know what your experiences are. Jump onto social media and share your new habits with others. Inspire others with your new practices. And if you check out Heal on Netflix and you want to dive in more, consider buying a copy of Kelly's book, also called Heal. The experts that Kelly has interviewed in her film are globally respected for the work they're doing to form these new belief systems around health and illness and how to overcome it. And what a time to be talking about health. I mean, it goes without saying, but everyone, please continue to take care of yourselves and of those around you in all the ways that you can. Now more than ever, we're focused on protecting ourselves and building up our immune systems, and this is such an opportunity to learn more about our bodies and our minds and to create a deeper sense of our health and what we need to really support it. We could come out of this time with so many new tools and techniques that will serve us for the rest of our lives, so don't miss this opportunity. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our show, give us a rating and a review, share this podcast with anyone you think would be inspired by it, who would enjoy hearing these messages of possibility and potential. Thanks so much for being here with us today. As always, we're sending so much love and support to each and every one of you. Continue to take care and be well. Until next time.